Real quick before we start, I just want to thank you guys for clicking on the video and going ahead and watching this. I just want to say this is a long video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If it's too long, too short, whatever. Really looking for constructive feedback. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. If you want to see the completed tier list, it's at the very end of the video. So just go ahead and click. I will timestamp it so you guys can just skip if you want to see the end result. But basically, I talk about how all of these go on the tier list throughout the whole video. So if you want to sit here, or if you're a new player, I highly recommend just like sitting through it and just listening, because this is what I found to be useful and what I like to use in my higher level runs. So anyways, thank you guys. Enjoy the video and have a great day. So basically, I've been playing the game for a little bit now, ever since it came out. I have roughly around 500 hours on the game. So hopefully we can go ahead and rank these. And so if you're a new player or a veteran player, you can go ahead and comment and let me know what you think truly is the tier list. So we have 7 different categories. We have S, A, B, C, D, E, F, and we're just going to be going and placing all of these in each category, starting off with the Gatling Barrage. So when I use the Gatling Barrage, I think it's it's pretty good. It clears pretty well on the bots. Recently, with the new angle that the orbitals strike at, it's a little difficult to actually hit this and get good damage off with it. So I would say before the patch that made the Gatling Barrage come in at an angle instead of just vertically, I think this would be honestly in B tier right now. This is an okay stratagem, and it's good, especially against the automatons. Let's see here. The next stratagem, it looks like we got the air burst, the orbital air burst. So this I hardly ever use, just because there's other stratagems that are very similar to it that do a better job. This is also good on the automatons, in my personal opinion. It kind of clears out those heavy units, and kind of clears some space for your team. So this is honestly not too bad. I'm also gonna put this in well, not also, but I'm gonna put this in C tier, because honestly this isn't too crazy of a stratagem. It's not great, it's not bad. So yeah. Orbital Laser, I think this is easily in the S tier. Orbital Laser clears out a lot of stuff. Again, it's a little worse than it was because of the patch where everything comes in at an angle now from your destroyer, but all is well. It still works pretty well. It struggles a little bit on the city maps, but that's all right. Next, we got the Orbital Rail Cannon. Now, this is really good. I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier, only because, this clears out heavy enemies pretty well, and especially once you have the upgrades for the orbital cannons and stuff on your ship, this can actually have a lower cooldown than some other orbitals, which is really nice. So, yeah. All right, so the next two are kind of very similar. I believe this is the 380, and this is the I forget, what is this? Basically. All right, so up next we have the orbital barrages. So the smaller one, it's good when you first start out. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and put these in D tier. I honestly don't think these are too great. They can miss, they kill your teammates a lot, and I just don't think this is really solid. And there's much better stratagems you can take, especially to clear out like bug nests and all that stuff. So, and speaking of which, this next one, the orbital napalm, this one's really good, and I'm gonna put this in S tier. I've used this many times, especially against the bugs, just throwing it on a bug breach and just watching most of the bugs die, and it's really useful, and it's on a fairly low cooldown, which is nice. We got the Orbital, I believe this is the Walking Gatling Barrage. So this one's pretty good when you're first starting out. It's really bad when you hit higher levels, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this on D tier. The next one is the Orbital Precision Strike. This one's alright. Again, like starting out Stratagem, you know, as the levels increase, you kind of find it hard to use this in certain situations. Same with the Gas Orbital, the EMS Orbital, and the Smoke Orbital, all kind of in the same tier. You know, these ones I use way more than any of these orbitals. So let's go ahead and get into the Eagles. So here is the Eagle Strafing Run, which is honestly pretty decent. I'm going to go ahead and put this in B tier. This one gets a lot of use, especially on Illuminate missions on the ships with the shields. This is very solid, and it's a good pick no matter what you're running. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and put that in B tier. I think that's a fair tier for it. The next Eagle is going to be, I believe, the Cluster Bomb Eagle, and this is honestly pretty good, especially once you get the upgrade for the Eagles where it increases the amount of your Eagles by 1. So if you have that upgrade, you'll have 5 Eagles and 5 Cluster Bomb Eagles, which is pretty decent. It's good for clearing out bug breaches and, you know, some bot drops. The Illuminate, not so much. I feel like you don't get that much use out of the clusters on the Illuminate. I could be wrong. I've never really used it on the Illuminate. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in, you know, generous C tier right there. I think that's fair. Next up is the Eagle Airstrike. I believe it's just called the Airstrike, and this is easily an S tier for me. This is really good stratagem, especially against the bots. Good at clearing enemies, especially when you figure out how to line it up and you know, actually get decent utility out of it. And also, once you get the upgrade for it, you'll have 3 Eagles of this, which is very solid, and it gives you a lot of room to clear enemies, and it's pretty good. Next up, it looks like we have the Eagle Napalm. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't used this stratagem one time ever since it got added into the game. I personally haven't really used it because there's just much better options. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in E tier. I really don't think that you get much use out of that. Next up, we got the Eagle Smoke. I believe this is fairly useless. I've only seen this one time in an actual match, and I don't really think it's that good. It doesn't really, you know, make the enemies you know, not see you. It just kind of is there, and it's nothing special. So this is going in the F tier. There's much better options. Even like any of these orbitals are probably a better option than the Smoke. Looks like we got the Eagle. I believe this is the 110 millimeter like pods or something. So this is like a directed strike, kind of like the orbital rail cannon. So this is good early game, so I'm going to put this like B tier. I use this quite a bit, especially against heavier opponents. So like Bio Titans, Hulks, all that stuff. So yeah. And then we got obviously 500 kg. This is an S tier. Everybody uses this stratagem. Really great for clearing not only large groups of enemies, but also taking down Bile Titans, Hulks, etc. So that's really good. All right, getting into the support backpacks and weapons here. There's a lot to go over, so we'll go ahead and start. I believe this is the backpack shield, the shield pack. So this is the one you throw on your back, and it has the little dome around you. This is easily an A tier for me. I used this a lot when it came out, before it even got nerfed. The nerf didn't really change it that much. It just takes you know, fewer hits to actually go away, and then enemies can hit you. It also only protects like the top half of your Helldiver, so it's an A tier. Before the nerf, I would say it's an S tier. It's a really good stratagem. So up next, it looks like we have the directional shield pack. I personally haven't used this too much, and I can't really speak for it. So I'm just going to put this in E tier because I just haven't used it. I don't think it's anything crazy, anything special. So all right, and it looks like we have I believe this is the ballistic shield next. This actually finds utility in a lot of like the bot missions where you're struggling for survival, or you might have a secondary weapon that you can hold while holding the shield. So honestly, this isn't too bad. I think I'm gonna put this in C tier. I've used it a couple times for the automatons, but I think that's its only use case for it, so not too bad. Up next, we have I believe, the supply pack. This is easily, in my opinion, an S tier. The supply pack is really good, especially if you're running a weapon that deals with heavy enemies that doesn't require a backpack slot. So this is really solid. So, for example, Epoch, or even the railgun, or any of these down here. Essentially, it just makes life a lot easier. If you're running thermite grenades too, highly recommend the supply pack. It's very solid for that. Up next, we have the jetpack, or the jump pack, I believe it's called. And this is a really solid stratagem. This is easily an A tier, gets you around everything. The only thing that sucks about it is it takes up a backpack slot that could easily be for something else, for damage, for ad clear, all that stuff. So it's not too crazy, but the movement's really nice, so it's going in A tier. And especially once it got its buff a while back. It used to be like on I want to say like a 15-16 second cooldown, and now it's on like a 10-second cooldown, which is really nice. Up next, we got the hover pack. Hover pack's really cool. It's very cinematic. You throw that shit on, and it's really fun. But I will say, other than it being cool and fun, I don't think it really serves any purpose other than maybe getting on high ground. But you can't even do that in the current state of the game. A lot of the high places you can't even reach. So honestly, this is a D tier for me. It's not crazy, it serves its purpose, it's fun, but utility wise, it's below all of these in my opinion. Up next is the warp pack, and I actually got my hands on this fairly recently, and so this is by far the best stratagem I've ever owned in this game. So this is easily an S tier. It makes traveling really easily. You can get into double man bunkers by yourself, and it's really nice to have because you can evade enemy attacks really easily, and it's all around just a great stratagem. Up next, it looks like we have the portable hell bomb. The portable hell bomb is really good for automaton missions with the stratagem jammers. I find myself using that a lot. So I'm going to put this in the A tier. It has a lot of uses. It's good for ad clear, all that stuff. If heavy enemies, especially on those tunnel missions that just came out recently, this is very solid. And, I really like this stratagem to have. All right, looks like up next we got all the rovers. So I believe this is the Rover Liberator, I want to say. So this is pretty good early game, but nothing really crazy, so I'll put this in C tier. Just kind of decent at ad clear, whatever. Up next, it looks like we have the Rover Blitzer, I believe. I actually haven't used this stratagem, so I'm going to put this in E tier. I don't really see a use for it, and I think there's a lot better options. You can certainly make a build around like, EMS and, stunning enemies, but I don't really think it serves any other purpose than stunning enemies. Up next, it looks like we got the, I believe, the rover. It's rover laser something. So it's the rover with the laser. I can't remember the exact name, but this is a really good stratagem. In my opinion, this is A tier. You'll start running this in higher missions, especially on bug missions where you need to clear a lot of enemies. This is just very nice, especially in between reloads. How nice it is. Up next, we have the rover. I forget. I forget all the names. But basically, this rover is the equivalent of the gas. The gas thrower, I guess, the gas thrower. And this is really good. In my opinion, this is a easy B tier. So this is really good for ad clear, confuses enemies, kind of keeps enemies off your backs. It doesn't really do a lot of damage, which is one downside of it, but it does kill enemies, so it is nice. So that's where I put that easy B tier right there. And so yeah, moving on to not the backpacks, but the actual support weapons. And we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Starting out with the Stalwart. This thing is fairly good in lower levels, and it's good in high levels if you need to clear a bunch of enemies, but I don't think you would take this over a weapon that would deal heavy damage to like Bile Titans and Hulks and all that stuff. So I'm going to put this in C tier. It serves its purpose. It's good early game, all that stuff. So up next is the normal machine gun. This machine gun has medium armor pen, so I'm going to put this in B tier. Just one more above that. And it's fairly good. It clears heavy enemies fairly well, and it's a good median between the Stalwart and the heavy machine gun, which is up next. Heavy machine gun, I don't really think there's many cases where you would use this. I think the only time I've really used this weapon is on automaton missions. And even then, it's really hard to play around the bots and not get shot while reloading. And its recoil is really terrible. So in my opinion, this is an E tier. In my opinion, this is just something I would never really take over any other support weapon that could do the same things to heavy enemies. Up next, we have the material rifle. Again, like another early game rifle. Serves its purpose early game, but late game, you won't really get any use out of this. You don't really see anybody running this past level 20. So honestly, this is going in the E tier for me. And that's just, my opinion. I don't really think it serves a purpose other than, early game. Up next, we got the spear gun. The spear gun's pretty decent. It can 3 or 4 shot, most Hulks. I haven't really done a lot of testing on it as far as Bile Titans go, but overall, it can stagger heavy enemies, which is really nice. So I'm gonna put this in A tier because no other weapon does this. It's very nice. So yeah. Up next is the railgun. The railgun used to be really good. When the game first came out, the meta was railgun shield pack. And the railgun didn't have a unsafe mode. It always had a safe mode, and the safe mode would do a lot of damage. And what's funny is a lot of the games you would get into, if you weren't running the railgun shield pack, you'd be kicked instantly because that was just the meta at the time. But they since changed that. It has a safe mode and unsafe mode. And personally, it doesn't really do enough damage to really, doesn't really do enough damage to validate picking it up over any other weapon. So for this, I'm going to put it in the D tier. I genuinely don't think there's a use case for the railgun anymore. Maybe lower difficulties can use it for heavy armor enemies, but other than maybe Hulks, this gun is, in my opinion, is fairly useless. Um, and you can use it in the unsafe mode, and it does do more damage, but then you run the risk of blowing yourself up, or having enemies come and then you're distracted or panicked and you accidentally charge it for too long or whatever. So up next is the grenade launcher. Again, another early game weapon, but in my opinion, this has a lot more utility late game, which is really nice, especially if you take, say, the jump pack or the hover pack. This is kind of fun to rain down on the enemies. Also, it's good for the search and destroy missions, where you have to destroy bug holes or automaton factories or whatever it may be. The grenade launcher is really good for that. So I'm going to put it in a B tier. The grenade launcher serves its purpose. It has good utility. And it's, as long as it has something late game, then there you go. Up next is the arc grenade launcher, I believe it's called. This isn't really something I would use over anything else. It could be really good for stunning groups of enemies, but unless you have more damage, let's say, maybe Gatling gun or whatever, a sentry down, I don't really think this has many uses. I've only used this like once or twice, so I'm just going to put this in the E tier. Don't really see why you would take anything, or I don't really see why you would take this over anything else. Up next, we have the gas launcher. I don't know the exact name of it, but it shoots out the gas, and it stuns and tricks enemies into hurting or killing other enemies. And it's really good for clearing out bugs. It's decent on the automatons, and it's alright on the illuminate. But it's a very solid pick regardless, so I would put this in the B tier. It's very solid. Say kind of on the same level as the backpack for it. So up next we have the flamethrower, and the flamethrower used to be really good against the bugs, but I don't really take it against the bugs anymore because chargers got buffed against flamethrowers, and so kind of the main reason you would take a flamethrower is for ad clear, and then also dealing with the heavy chargers, but it can't really. You'd be sitting there using 2 to 3 canisters of the flamethrower before you killed a single charger. It's just kind of ridiculous now. So it used to be really good. It's not really anymore, but I'm gonna put it in C tier just because the respect and all that. Up next we have, I believe, just the laser cannon. I don't know the large laser cannon. I don't know the exact name, but this cannon, in my opinion, is absolutely worthless. I don't really see why you would take this over anything else for heavy enemies. It's good for clearing out medium armor enemies, but even at that, it's not that good. So I'm gonna put this in the E tier. I think this is absolute trash. I don't really ever use this. It's fun to just mess around with it, like say take the hover pack and the large laser cannon and just fly around with it, but other than that, I don't think it really serves a purpose. Good early game obviously, but late game you can't really clear with it. So up next we have the Quasar Cannon, and this is easily an S tier for me. It is one of the best stratagems in my opinion. Unlimited uses. Headshot to Bile Titan, it's dead. Hulks, it's dead. And the Illuminate, you'll have to get like 2 shots in, but they'll die too. So it's a very solid pick. It's very good because it frees up your backpack slot, so you can take this in the warp pack or this in the jet pack and have more mobility and kind of work around the enemies a little more. Up next is the arc thrower, and the arc thrower for a while had a kind of crazy meta going on. You take the jetpack and the arc thrower, and then you take all heavy stratagems for the rest, and that's how you would clear. And you could do solo clears with it, and it's really good. But recently, I haven't really found a use for it as much, especially against the automatons and the illuminate. The bugs are always super easy with the arc thrower. Very solid choice, but I'm gonna put this in C tier because it does its job, but it's nothing too special now. Up next is the Epoch. This came out recently with the control group Warbond. This is alright in my opinion. You know, I would still choose this. I would choose the Quasar over this, but it's a solid choice. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in B tier. It clears, especially on the automatons, it clears the heavy enemies and the hulks pretty well, so I'll give it that. Up next is the autocannon, and I think we all know it's going to be in the S tier. This is just the early game version of, you know, the Quasar in my opinion, and it's really solid for taking down heavy enemies and you know, even medium enemies. And then it used to not have this, but it has a flak mode and a, I believe, anti-tank mode now. So it's very solid, and you can use it in a variety of different situations. So even to this day, I sometimes still run it. It's really good. All right, up next we have the Airburst Launcher, and this has very unique uses. I don't really think there's anything too special about the Airburst Launcher other than the fact that it can kill your teammates really easily if you don't know where to put it. I will say it does have a purpose, especially if you're sitting at extraction and you see these enemy patrols coming in. You can just shoot the patrols and most of them will die, no problem. But other than that, I don't really think there's any crazy need for it, so I'm gonna put it in the D tier. Up next, I believe we have the Spear Launcher, which is a tracking version of the recoilless rifle, essentially. Tracks heavy enemies. It does its job fairly well, does good damage. The only gripe I have about it is it doesn't one-shot most of the time. You have to land at least 2 shots on a Bile Titan, and I believe for Chargers it's just 1. For Hulks it's just 1. I'm not sure about the Illuminate. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and put this in A tier. Very solid stratagem, but nothing crazy. Very solid. Up next, I believe we have the expendable anti-tank launchers. So these are really good at early game and sometimes even late game if you need to free up a weapon slot or you need to run a different support item. Not support item. If you need to run a different support stratagem. So this is easily, I believe, a B tier. This is a solid stratagem all around. I still catch myself using this from time to time. Up next is the expendable napalm, and this is actually fairly decent. I was very surprised when I first used it. It's fairly solid, but other than clearing out small enemies, I think it's just in C tier, just one below the expendable anti-tank. It's good for clearing, you know, smaller enemies, but other than that, it doesn't really have any other use. Up next, we got the recoilless rifle. This is S tier in my opinion. It does a ton of damage to heavy enemies. It can clear automaton factories, bug holes, you know, illuminate ships. It's very well rounded. It does a lot of damage no matter what. If you choose the recoilless rifle, your teammates won't be mad at you. It's a very solid pick all around, and I just love the recoilless rifle, so it's going in the S tier. Up next, we have the Wasp launcher, and this was part of a crossover with the game trilogy Killzone, I believe. And so it's a good stratagem, and it's good for clearing out, you know, the Illuminate. But other than that, I don't really see a use case for it. It's, you know, it tracks, but it only really clears, you know, medium armored enemies most of the time. And it doesn't really deal with heavy enemies in any of the ways that the others do. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the D tier. You know, it has its use case, but it's nothing crazy. Up next, we have the, I believe this is an expendable stratagem. This is, you know, I might have gotten the spear and this mixed up. But this is the expendable, I believe, like X45, I want to say, or something along those lines. It's a you know, 4-chamber rocket launcher that can track. It's very good at taking down heavy enemies in 2 hits or less, and it's very solid. Very low cooldown. Love this stratagem, so I'm gonna put this in the A tier. So the spear in that is also in the A tier. Up next, we have the Super Earth Flag. Now this is a fun stratagem. I wouldn't really take this for anything higher than like level 5. It's pretty useless. Melee isn't really a thing meta-wise, in my opinion. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this on the E tier. You know, it's fun, but it's nothing crazy. Up next, we have the Solo Silo, and I actually just played around with this recently. It's a fairly decent stratagem, nothing too crazy. I was hoping that we could destroy the automaton jammers with this, but it just doesn't kill the jammers, so that's a little disappointing. Other than that, it takes down pretty much any heavy enemy in 1 hit. You know, Bile Titans, Hulks, the Walkers, all that shit. So it's very solid, but it's nothing too crazy, so I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Up next, we have our Sentries. So starting with the, I believe, machine gun sentry. This is good early game, nothing too crazy. This is going in E tier. Up next, we have the Gatling Sentry. Very solid, put in C tier. Does its job very well, especially once you get upgrades for it, where it has more health and more ammo capacity. Up next, we have the Flame Sentry. This, in my opinion, is fairly useless. It's only really good against the bugs, and even then it doesn't kill the bugs fast enough for them to die before hitting it. So it's just kind of a waste of a stratagem slot, in my opinion. I'm gonna put this in the F tier. I never use this. I think it's garbage. So yeah. Up next, we have the large laser sentry. You know, I forget the name for it, but this does pretty decent damage, and it's good for clearing out small enemies. But other than that, it doesn't really have a use case, so I'm gonna put this in the E tier as well. Up next, we have the Rocket Launcher Sentry, or the Rocket Sentry, I think it's just called. Very solid. This is going in the A tier for me. I run this on a lot of defense missions. Very solid. Same thing with the Autocannon Sentry. Very solid. Defense missions all the way. Clears enemies, clears heavy enemies. Really good. EMS Mortar. There's only a few scenarios where I'd use this, particularly you know, evac citizens or defense missions. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the C tier. We have the Mortar Sentry. This is, in my opinion, an S tier stratagem. This is really good for defense missions, and not only that, it's good for pretty much every mission. You just throw it down and you kind of have coverage around you, which is really nice. So I'm gonna put this in the S tier. You know, some people might hate me for that, but whatever. Up next we have the, I don't know the exact name of it, but it's like the man machine gun stratagem. Very solid on defense missions, pretty solid on other missions, but nothing too crazy. I'm gonna put this in B tier. Up next we have the anti-tank cannon, and this is, in my opinion, S tier. It deals with every enemy's ships, and for the bugs it struggles a little bit, but it still clears bugs fairly well and clears heavies fairly well, so that's a S tier for me. Up next we have the Tesla Tower. I used to run this early game, but I don't really anymore. It has very few use cases. I don't really recommend taking this. It can kill your teammates, and it's not really worth killing your teammates, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the C tier. Up next, I believe this is the what's it called? The grenade emplacement or something like that. This is very solid on defense missions. Comes with a lot of ammo on the grenade launchers, but other than that, nothing too crazy. So this is going to E tier for me. I hardly ever use it. Up next, we got the minefield. Minefield is pretty early game, so I'm gonna put this in the F tier. I hardly ever used it after I got done with it. So next up, we got the napalm minefield, and this is in E tier for me. I think it has its use case, but it's nothing too crazy. Next we got the gas minefield. This, in my opinion, is a B tier because of the coverage that it has, and if you're struggling with multiple patrols, this will really help disorient the enemy and confuse everybody. So very nice. Up next we have the anti-tank minefield. This is solid, but I don't really find myself using this too much. It doesn't really seem like heavy enemies drive over these minefields as much, and the only really time I've used it is in the automaton faction. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the E tier. Up next we have the shield generator relay, I believe it's called. This is solid, nothing too crazy. Definitely a support stratagem where if your team doesn't have a lot of armor, this is really good. Other than that, I don't really take it. This is not part of my normal kit, but I will put it in like C tier. Up next we have the vehicles. So this is the last 3 stratagems we got to rank, and yeah, so first we got the Patriot suit. Very solid, does work on the bugs, does work on the Illuminate. Struggles a little at the bots in my opinion, just because your ammo is limited, especially for your rockets, and there's a lot of hulks on the automaton. There's a lot of hulks on the automatons. So I'm gonna put this in the B tier. Very solid, nothing crazy. Up next we have the Emancipator suit. This is a very solid stratagem all around. Great against bugs, great against automatons, great against the Illuminate. In my personal opinion, I take this more than the Patriot suit, so it's very solid. I'm gonna go ahead and place this in the A tier. I think it's just a great stratagem. And last but not least, we have the FRV, the Fast Recon Vehicle stratagem. This is a very, very solid stratagem. I highly recommend getting this whenever you get the chance. Makes traversing the map a lot easier with your teammates, especially if you're just trying to farm samples or super samples, whatever. So this is an easy S tier from me. Very solid, very decent. So yeah. So here's the final result of my tier list. If you guys disagree or agree with me, you can go ahead and go in the comments and type out, oh, Kaden, you're so dumb or whatever. But this is just my personal experience. This is what I use the most in the S tier. And then going down to A tier, what I use. And it's basically what has the most utility and what has the most use cases for everything. So it's honestly very spread out. This guy has a lot of the same stuff as me. This guy has a lot of orbitals. I just think it's cool that this tier list website has everybody, like, you can post your own tier list. So this is really cool. So yeah, if you want to check this out, people have made their own on here. There's tiermaker.com. So yeah, looks like everybody's just slightly different. You know, I think it's just what everybody personally likes to use. Just want to say before I end the video out, thank you guys once again making it to the end. I appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.